This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Erolai, Kreese, and Mark, bringing you all of your DissidiaFFOO news and talk. Welcome to Season 4, the LGBT era. Now let's start the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 142 of the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, recorded this March 4th, 2021. Welcome to the stream. Uh-oh, that was the wrong intro? What one did I press? What intro was it? What song was it? Was the Final Fantasy III song, right? Somebody in chat tell me we're going to have to start this over. Oh, okay. Don't mess with me. Hey, Raw Life. Thank you for the gift sub. Yeah, as always, Ryan is the Bomb 203, does our intro music. You can check that out at Ryan 203, or Ryan is the Bomb 203 on YouTube. Ryan is the Bomb 203 on YouTube. Thank you, Ryan, for that. Thank you, Raw Life. So we're up to we're doing a special make Mark pull on RCL as LD with tickets. Soraya the range. Yes, we have a special remix of Mino's intro. Mino's not with us tonight, so we will save that for some others. So thank you, Raw Life. Thank you, Jeff Leopard. But yes, anyone who subs or gifts a sub will make me spend 5 tickets on RCL LD until I get the LD, in hopes that I get extra Onion Knight bursts after having to pity his burst like a fool, which I say you should never ever do. Hey, but last week. I'm Mark, by the way. It's nice to see all of you. We wanted to share that Zeta Kai, who was in a car accident, we lifted up last week. They're doing fine. They've been on Discord. One of our JP players does a lot of our translations for us. They're doing great. Very, very cool. We're also ending our TCC 3rd anniversary subathon. So anybody who gifts a sub or is subbed by March 7th, we will enter into a chance of winning those 5 Dissidia Final Fantasy Trading Arts mannequin figures. And so, let us know how you... Oh, HaateXIII, including that. So I'm going to try to write this down and go this. So while I'm doing that, let me pass it off to my co-hosts. First is Arrow. Arrow, how you doing? Talk for a few minutes.
Yeah, no worries. I am happy to be here. And I also am very glad that we are currently in we are working on level 3 of the hype train. So yes. Thank you guys so much for subbing and any bits and all that you donate to the show tonight. I have had a pretty great week. I have been working on more new YouTube graphics. I have actually shown a work in progress for one of the line arts I'm working on in the TCC supporters chat. I always try to share something random with you guys in that chat every week. So if you were looking for a reason to maybe sub tonight, just remember you get access to a special supporters channel in our Discord server, and you get to watch us at least me post random things, and of course other people, other hosts participate, and of course you can talk about whatever you want, pretty much as long as it follows the server rules. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think Mino and Macno thought they were talking in one of our private channels. So sometimes content creators have conversations in that channel accidentally. They didn't say anything inappropriate, but
yeah, I mean, yeah,
it was definitely conversation. And I'm like, I think they may think they're in a different channel, but Let's give the Twitch supporters some insight to our community.
I didn't see any problem with what they were discussing. I thought it was a pretty realistic thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, it was about the game, and it was appropriate. HaateXIII, thank you for the gift subs. Yes. I'm up to 35 tickets that I'm going to be pulling on RCL. So thank you all for your support. Speaking of support, thank you Raw Life for another gift sub. We're also supported by Kreese. Kreese, how are you doing?
I'm here. That's as much as I can say right now. It's been another long and exhausting week for me. I'm working through it.
Oh, goodness. Shalaster just gifted 10 subs, so thank you very much. I appreciate your continued
I think that
support.
brings us up to
that's
level 4.
That's 90. That's 90 tickets. Thank you all for the 90 tickets on RCella. I'm going to get 45 Onion Knight bursts. That's what's going to happen here tonight. Oh, well, I'm so glad that you all joined us for what's going to be prolonged suffering. I guess we don't have to talk about content because I'm going to be pulling tickets on stream all night. But thank you for all of you for your support. Now, hey, a couple, can I have one of them? Hey, if I get some extra ones, I'll be happy to let you know, pass them out. So I'll let Joshua know if he can just share them with the team. Hey, we got these main scenario interlude chapters. You cannot read them all if you have not read them all. Thankfully, if you have missed one, because they kind of cycle out of the news, you can check them out on Arrow's channel. Arrow has done a wonderful reading rendition of all 7 chapters. It is on her YouTube, Leilee on YouTube. And that's how I read them because I wasn't going to read them at all. So I was happy to listen. So Arrow is sharing that. So please, Arrow, if you want to share about that project and what you did there.
Yeah, it was really fun. I read all of the interlude sections. I added some OC remixes, so there's some like background music as I read, and I voice acted all the character lines on top of that. And I'm really glad I did it because I didn't realize it was actually going to cycle out of the where you can't even access it anymore. So now it's been preserved for all time, thankfully. So yes, I really hope they'll add it maybe to like the theater or something somehow later. But as of right now, you might not be able to access all of them. I had a lot of fun doing it. And if you enjoyed my reading of that, I'm also going to, called Chill Out, that you guys should watch the longest 5 minutes playthrough. I do the same thing there.
Mistleton, thank you for the gift subs. We're up to 115 tickets. Level 5 hype train. I think that's the best hype train we've ever had. Yeah, so 115 tickets, I believe, if my math is correct. That's a lot of tickets. I'm more than happy to spend them and enjoy my suffering. Apparently, I'm going to get some use out of RCella too. But Arrow, that was really cool. Check that out. And if you did miss them, that's a wonderful opportunity. It will be captured on YouTube because you actually do kind of need to know those stories to make sense of what happens in Chapter 3. I were Act 3. I was going to be like, oh, maybe you don't need to really know these. And then I started Act 3 and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm glad I listened to Arrow read all these things because I would not have had any idea what was going on. It would not have made any sense. So, or would have made less sense. Let me put it that way. We also had these New World hunts. Now, we got 5 of them for playing through the story chapter. They're special hunts. They all feature various different difficulties of gold cactuars, giant gold cactuars, and they give you special tokens that you can redeem up to 99 tickets. Thankfully, I'm going to need them. And I think 1 chocobo feather. We've only had 5 of them, and I assume we're going to get the other 5 in the second part of Act 3, Chapter 1. Be careful because some of those giant cactuses are not level 70, so they can hurt you. There is at least Cosmos level 1s, if not higher than that. So just pay attention to that. Make sure you get those. You get those just by playing the game and redeeming them in your events. So yeah, how about different cactuars? Many different cactuars. And Onion Knight's costume returned. I picked it up finally. It's a nice costume. If you get it and you keep it in the chapter, you will get confused whether Onion Knight or Theodore, or excuse me, Theodore, whatever. You'll get confused on who is who because they got to look the same. Maybe they're brothers. Maybe he's really his father. Yeah, Mino's making angry noises. I practiced it all week, though, too, and I still don't remember what to do. So let's get into it. Act 3, Chapter 1, Part 1. Thank you all for the bits and the sharing and all of that kind of stuff. For the love. Part of Act 3, Chapter 1, Part 1 is free multis, which we have another one, I believe. Onion Knight stickers, story missions, story chocobo panels, which gives us 10 EX tokens. So if you were down on EX tokens, they are a little bit more available, and you'll get 10, and then plus some weapon tokens and some maybe nuggets as well in that story. I pretty much automatically did it. I think if you've already played through all the story except for Act 3, Chapter 1, you pretty much clear it automatically, so it wasn't anything to do. Oh, there's no free on Arciela? I thought we had free banners on... maybe we don't have free banners on Arciela.
I thought we did, but it's not her, but we will get a free one on Theodore. I'm sorry.
Oh, Theodore.
It's not Theodore. It's like
story banner. Oh, okay,
Theodore.
the story banners only.
Theodore.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, Arrow, I know you've played through the chapter. We don't have to get heavy into spoilers, but who cares? You either probably have played it or you haven't at this point. So be warned, if you're spoiler saving, go play the game before you get it. It's kind of a short chapter because now story chapters are broken into 2 sections from this point out. So it is a little shorter than previous story chapters. Arrow, what were your thoughts about this new act and the story thus far within? Onion Knight obviously is the feature character here.
Okay, I don't know how spoilery I'm allowed to go. How spoilery am I allowed to go?
Who cares? Just as much spoilers as you want.
Okay, sure. So I'll start reading through most of my notes then. So I like the idea of this story chapter, but the execution fell just a little short for me so far. I don't know if this is addressed maybe better in the second half, but as of right now, I do not play JP, so I have no idea what the story is ahead of time. Just throwing that out there. Don't spoil it for me. If you are somebody who knows, I'm just going to talk about what I've seen so far. So I would have liked more. One thing that really bothered me was that Onion Knight's character in this chapter, it was more like one of those standard bratty teenagers where it's like, you don't understand me. Nobody understands me. And he literally ran off screen like in one of the sections. And I was just like, that is so out of character for him so far what we know of him. And it just bothered me so bad because it just wasn't based on the interlude text, I honestly thought
puberty does things, to you. So
he's sort of like an archetype in the sense like how Warrior of Light is. Like he's like this designed archetype, and like it's like a focus, almost like a magic type thing to me. Anyway, it's really complex to me how I feel about this, but like it was just so weird because it just wasn't based on dialogue in the interlude. I honestly thought it was more like he was going to doubt how he was leading the team, not so much, oh, I can't measure up to Warrior of Light. I didn't like that. I really wanted it to be more like he struggles to lead them, and he starts doubting more and more, which is what it seemed like was going to happen. So like I expected a lot of self-doubt, but Onion's usually, like I said, a self-assured kind of kid. He could have focused more instead on the self-doubt, to take on the responsibility, rather than an inability to fulfill original Wool's shoes. Or because we know Onion as the one to try to be like the balance between the light and darkness, trying to like work out how do I stay in balance, but I have to basically lead all these light warriors. Like, I like that in the end, they were talking about like there was an overflowing amount of light, like Cloud of Darkness was like telling him that, and that it was going to unbalance the world. And he was very concerned about that. I thought that was cool. And I really wish they had focused more on that plot point rather than there just be this constant back and forth thing about Onion Knight doubting himself, like it just bothered me. So, and I felt like if they had done that, it would have brought it closer to the tone that FF3 storyline is anyway, which is about balance. Like the idea of like yin and yang, you have to have those things in balance to really have a full and happy world. You know what I mean? Like a world that can exist with itself. Anyway, the OK scene with Yuna definitely was a highlight. I know. I imagine now there are now Onion. Where are you, Onion Knight, Yuna shippers? Because it happened. This is their scene. I like that she pointed out she didn't have to be like the Warrior of Light and how he leads. That was good. I wish that scene came sooner, because then the conflict could have focused on Cloud of Darkness and Zonde messing with the team instead. And then, having the conflict with Onion Knight trying to lead this small, trying to learn how to be his own leader, come into his own. My last note is with this leadership change, now with Onion Knight being the guy in charge, I want to see differences in how these two handle the oncoming challenges in this new world. They could have shown us here, but they instead focused on other things. That's pretty much how I'm taking it this far with the chapter. My opinion may change after the second half is done. I'll let you guys know if it has once we get there. All right, I'm done, Mark. I finally said all my parts.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why Onion Knight is the go-to second leader of all of the 140 characters that are currently in the cast. Let's give the crazy kid who doesn't even have a name and whose only friend is Grimace. Let's give him the leadership role. He's expendable. He is wearing red, so I guess that is. I'm just saying, when you go with like a Cecil, like a Paladin Cecil, like he's been through some stuff, or like anybody else, like even Cypher, like. No, I thought the story was fine. It is a little jarring in terms of, okay, what the heck happened? And did the world end? And what's that even mean? Oh, Renault's on this. Like what? Yeah. So I don't know. Again, the story's fine. We don't play the game really for the story. I enjoy it. I enjoy the character interactions. I half part of me thought it would be interesting to record, because in my head Onion Knight sounds like Mickey Mouse, and if Onion Knight sounds like Mickey Mouse, then Dash has to sound like Goofy in my head. I don't know who Donald Duck is in that point. Maybe Cloud of Darkness is Donald Duck. So I was kind of Sunday is Donald Duck. Scrooge McDuck, maybe. I was kind of thinking about recording my story mode through with the Onion Knight Mickey Mouse voice, but yeah, it was fine. I liked again as often as often Jet steals the show. There's a lot of course Jet love in the in Final Fantasy Dissidia Opera Omnia. So Jet and Orin we're doing good there. And part of me really wanted Sayador to make some comment about training with Mr. Piccolo, and he was lost, and that was the other thing I really wanted. I'm not really sure why Titus was there with Sayador and all that good stuff, but yeah, the story was the story. Gold Orb. I don't know how many tickets I'm at yet, but I have to pull 115 until I get the LD. Oh, it's not that. I already have everybody on this banner, by the way. Yeah, Defoe's not really Dragon Ball Z so much as the After Years is definitely Dragon Ball Z. Is definitely Dragon Ball Z, because Kane literally is dressed like Piccolo, and they just, and is the father figure because his real father's not really a father, and his mother's worthless.
Mark, can I interject real quick about Kane, actually? Because I was going through the Ultimania today, and I have one of the art. And it talks about Kane in one section, and they have him in like a very like a loose fitting outfit, like kind of similar to the one you see in After Years. And it says when Amano made that art, they later did use it for the After Years, something kind of like it.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty cool. I just wanted to share that.
All right, Chris, have you gotten to the story yet, or any insights from there?
I'm working on it, but I'm pretty far behind. Like, not far enough to really comment too much on it.
All right.
I've been busy, and I'm trying to get caught up on other content at the moment.
Understandable. The story's not going anywhere. Let us know what you think of the story thus far, so far. Thank you, HaateXIII. Appreciate that. Yeah, we started at 561 tickets. We have 115 to go. We'll see if we get RCLA's LD or any extra BTs. It won't be good if we do get a BT. And yeah, so with this, we got level 80 Awakenings for Onion Knight, Gao, Snow, Zaz, Alize, and Cater. Arrow, any of these particular characters you are interested in their calls or what they got at level 80, or we're happy they got level 80? Thank you, Zarathi.
Onion Knight's cool. I got a lot to say about Onion Knight. Gal Call is very nice. It's an earth enchant, which is cool. And he's got a healing skill, and it does a pretty nice heal on that Life Shaver. Really appreciated that when I was doing... when I do the co-ops. Cater's cool with level 80. I'm so glad we got Cater actually here, because this is a great chance, if you have Mog Pads, to finally get those double cursed arts or those 108 buff attack boost, whatever they're called. I don't ever remember what the full name is, but this is your chance. Go ahead and farm those. And out of the calls, honestly, Onion Knight, Gao, and Cater are definitely the winners this time around. Cater, because of that self-enchant ice call, that's going to be handy maybe every now and then. Onion Knight, LD, and base call came out. He's got blizzard attack on one of them, and he's got that sword and sorcery call. And then Gal got Life Shaver and the LD call, of course, too. Very nice stuff. I don't know. I don't even remember what Saz, Snow, and Alize got. I haven't played them. I don't have any of them built. Sorry. Chris, do you have any thoughts about their calls?
I have them. I have not used them, so I can't really comment too much on them. I have raised their crystal levels, but I haven't used their calls, so I have no comments on them yet. The only ones I realized that I somehow missed some crystal levels or some high crystals for red somewhere along the way, so I've been trying to dig them out of the co-op so I can finish leveling both Alice and Onion Knight.
There is a lot of red because we had Zaz, Alize, and Onion Knight. So there is a lot of red in the co-op shop and in the story. So you might not be that behind. You just
might just be all in the co-op.
Yeah. I was going to say, we're at a point where we probably have enough LD calls where you probably won't be using non-LD calls, but I did bring XDeath LD call to this fight, I believe. So I did use Infamous Element says I used Snow for the challenge quest. I did also use Snow for the challenge quest. I wish I had used Zaz instead. It would have been a lot faster, but Snow was a lot safer. That's for sure. Zaz is still very, very functional. So the level 80 is nice that he gets that. It will be nice when he gets an LD. So, Nibelung also shared the Refined Sphere Guide at DissidiaInfo, Macno site, DissidiaInfo.com. I was going to talk about that in a little bit, but since Nibelung brought that up, you can check out all the Refined Spheres and their recommendations for them, and they are available in this co-op. They're actually, all of these Refined Spheres are fairly good. Gao's is really, really useful. It's just one of those base brave damage up ones, I believe, based on maybe breaking or attacking a broken target. All of them are pretty standard and usable skills. Zaz, if you haven't refined Zaz is a great refined D sphere. I would pick up a bunch of those and then pick up a few of all the other ones. I think they're all going to be somewhat useful. The Caters is an evasion one, so that's only useful on a certain number of characters, so that's probably the least usable one. But we're also going to be heading to the next time we get refined spheres, and you're going to want to pick up a lot of Paladin Cecil spheres. So be careful on the white crystals. You might want to save some for Paladin Cecil because there's an interaction with the awakened high armor in the future with that C sphere, that Paladin Cecil you can refine. And so the Brave gain armor and the Brave gain sphere. And so you're going to want to at least probably have 20, 25, if not more, of those spheres. We did try to go through all the characters that could possibly use it. There's currently 61 sea sphere users in the game, but only about 20 or so have that armor at the moment in JP. So something to keep in mind. Don't use all your white crystals. And RCL is white crystal, and so is Paladin Cecil here coming up. So, but yeah, there's quite a few good spheres, and refined spheres are, you know, there's some. Yeah, Lizette's on that one too. Wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Retro Gamer Dad. What portion of the community goes deep? Well, probably a few of the portions who are listening to the podcast. Actually, there's quite a few people on our Discord who really go deep into the spheres. I think it's worth picking up decent refined spheres to use on characters you use regularly. My current mantra is I only use actual spheres on characters either that they are clearly meant for. I mean, there are some characters that just their spheres are clearly meant for them, so you put them on them. Or there are, you know, spheres, real spheres that I use on favorites. Other than that, it's refined spheres, and I usually don't even use refined spheres unless it's a character I'm going to be using, like a burst character or a character that I think I need a little extra help to get through some content to make it a little bit easier. But I'm not a huge person on spheres. So, but yeah, as Black Cloud is saying, Black Nero on YouTube and on Twitch, the Paladin Cecil refined sphere is an actual game changer. So really do save some resources. I actually did some white crystal grinding earlier today while I was getting everybody ready in the morning. So to make sure I had some of the you know, the white high crystals. Well, we also got some characters besides level 80s. Onion Knight has an LDBT, so of course you can check out Tonberry Troupe for the beautiful infographics that their team does. But Kreese, do you want to talk us through what Onion Knight got?
Sure, I can talk it through quickly. Just give me a sec, I gotta find it again. Okay, so just a quick note. Onion Knight did not get any tweaks to his base kit. It is still the same as it always was. So the only changes you'll see are with the LD and the burst. So Onion Knight's LD is Sword and Sorcery. It is a 3-use LD, and it has 2 characteristics to it. One is that it is a ice element attack that does both magic and melee attacks. It applies a new ability or a new characteristic to him called Job Level 99. It applies Ice Element Resist down to all targets. It does 2 different attacks. One is a single target melee Brave plus HP attack, and it does an AoE Brave plus HP attack. And it causes his 2 allies to move to be right after him. He gets to choose the order. It also causes the party's next ability use to be free, except for their LD abilities. So it's a pretty loaded LD, because it allows a lot of turn manipulation. Basic idea is you use it, you set it up, and you get a bunch of turns right afterwards. It's very much similar to... Why is Mino laughing in chat?
Because I ticketed a burst, and it wasn't even on a burst orb. It was on a blue freaking orb.
I just saw it.
Literally
I see it now.
I literally just double tapped it. And yes, for those of you who are not in on the joke, I did pity.
Yep. So now you have an extra one for your efforts. Okay. Anyways, so he has so Onion Knight has a pretty loaded LD. He only has 3 uses of it, so he has to be careful about it. But he can set up some pretty powerful turn manipulation. Very similar to how Noctis has a very powerful LD that he can use to set up turn manipulation right after his turn. Again, and with free ability uses, it's pretty helpful for getting some allies to get some high power abilities in after his use. Along with that, he has a burst ability. which is technically 2 burst abilities because it depends on which stance he is in, Sage or Ninja, when he activates it. If he is in Sage stance, he activates Spellbook, which is an AoE Brave plus HP attack, which activates the burst effect, which increases magic attack damage, party Brave damage, party HP damage, and party Brave damage limit and overflow. If he is in Ninja stance, it is a single target Brave plus HP attack that activates the burst effect. That's pretty much the same thing, except it increases party physical attack. So the nuance there is he going to want to raise party physical attack or party magic attack, and is he going to want to deal single target damage or AoE damage with his burst effect? Either way, it's a pretty nice burst in that he can kind of tailor it to the situation he wants. And that's kind of it. Otherwise, a couple things to note about Onion Knight. Although he can imperil his own element, he cannot maintain party enchant the whole time. He has to use his additional ability to give the party ice enchant for a few turns. So it is a thing you have to think about. You cannot do that the whole time. So keep that in mind. His auras are okay. He does provide a decent amount of party attack, party max brave, and party overflow. Nothing's amazing, but pretty middle of the road. He doesn't take any party buff slots while he's doing this, so it's pretty solid. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything, Arrow, with that?
No, you got all the main points. I love his LD. It's basically Ignis EX. It's like cool, but of course he doesn't. He expends his brave to do a different kind of attack than Ignis. That's about the only difference.
I really enjoy Onion Knight. I pitied his burst and then got it on some tickets just now. But I've always liked the character. I like how he plays. I like jumping between the stances. The animations just always seem real smooth. It just is one of those characters that just feels fun to play, and I think his LD and his burst just makes that much nicer. And it's going to be fun to play with other characters where you can manipulate their AA, give them free turns back, like Squall coming up. That's going to be ridiculous. I mean, Squall can pretty much burn through just press buttons anyway with his rework and his LD boards. But there's other characters. Arceala is one like that. So you can give even more HP silence if you want to. So I mean that's really cool. But being able to choose between the different modes and the different BT modes is really cool as well. I think it was Dystopia, maybe Clay. I don't know if it was Clay on that video on the Dystopia YouTube channel. They kind of did a burst walkthrough about how you would do the burst, but always good to go into the burst when you have a free skill so you can focus in on basically go into the burst after you've hit the LD. So then you can focus in on one of the skills, either skill 1 or skill 2. If your skill, the multi-hit, if you're going to be, that's skill 2. If you're going to be doing single target, the whatever it's called, the blizzard attack, if you're going to be multiple targets, and then you can go in, use a skill, use the LD again, or use the EX if you need to apply the debuffs, and then use another couple skills. So you do get those free skills in the burst phase, which is really nice. No, I wasn't going to say, but I think he's a lot of fun to play, and you can keep the ice enchant. Generally speaking, after you use your LD, you're just going to want to use the ice enchant, keep the ice enchant active as long as possible. So that's really cool that you get a lot more use with the ice enchant, but that's really how he ice enchants. It's with his AA, so you need to use those free skills on the AA, which is fine because he's not going to run out of skills particularly easily. So you're going to be good with that. Thank you, Arrow sharing that in chat right now. So Yeah, so I mean, let's go to the podcast polls before we'll just look at this one and then we'll go to Gao here. But on Onion Knight's banner, what did I pity? I pitied the burst. 10 stupid people like me went to full pity. This is over 10 servers, and thank you to Quetzalma on MaterialBot. J.A also helps with this, making this happen. 10 people over 10 servers willing to pity. 62 willing to go. I would not have thought he would be this popular. 37 gems, 137 tickets, and only 35 skipping. This is on the Onion Knight banner. Wow, very, very cool. Of course, we all got the free pull, which was nice on both of these banners. So, Kreese, any other thoughts about Onion Knight? I think he's a lot of fun to play. I don't think he's necessary character, but I think he is fun to play. So,
I've been enjoying my time with him. I've been messing with a different LD character for this past week more for a variety of reasons, but we'll talk about him in a sec.
Yeah, Arrow, any other thoughts about the OK Kid before we move on to Gao Gao?
This LD has been a game changer for adding extra utility to him. I'm really appreciative of it. I think it's a very fun LD. It really opens up some interesting play styles. I think it fits very well with his play style as well, because before, Onion Knight was actually one of the first back in Cosmos era when he got this rework. He was very, very different in that he got a 40% attack aura at that time. That was absolutely unheard of on a fighter at that time. It was such a good rework, and I used him a lot in and out of Cosmos. Too. And Penelo has come back. And Penelo and Onion have always been a pretty good duo, and they only keep getting better and better. If you happen to have Penelo, man, Onion just makes her able to go longer and longer. And I do showcase that in my own version of the Lupania video, which we will talk about that more very soon. Very good LD, very useful. I think he's a lot of fun. He's going to be, I know he's not as hype as another burst user coming very soon, but this guy is no slouch at all. You will not regret having him.
You might regret spending 120,000 gems and 120 tickets on another banner and having an extra one. But I don't think you would regret him. He's okay. He's okay. The LD, Mino is saying the LD call is pretty good as well, and offers some interesting options for gameplay.
Yeah, that is true.
Mino regrets it on my behalf. Thank you. Well, speaking of the other character, Gao is on the other banner, and Gao gets his LD boards and a little boost. So can you go over what Gao, and again, TonberryTroupe.com, you can check out the infographic updated for Gao with his LD boards. But let us know what Gao got here in this current iteration.
Yeah, Gao, because it's just an LD board, it isn't a substantial transformation for the way he was playing before. So the last time we spoke about him, he already had his LD. So all it did was just bump up his LD ability a little bit and make it so that you can use his LD ability as his call. Big things that change that are notable are that it hits a little harder, and his LD ability now applies beast teachings when you use it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I wish I would have read or looked at that before I went into this Medusa fight, because I was wasting a lot of turns reapplying that dumb buff. Because if people don't know, before you had to use one of his skills to apply the beast teaching frame buff, and now his LD does that for free, which is really nice and means you almost never have to use his skills. And that would have saved me several turns. I did continue to beat the Medusas, but still would have saved me a few turns.
What it means now is that you can use his skills if you feel you need to. For example, you can shift into Life Shaver if you need to take advantage of the burst healing from Life Shaver and the burst healing from the counter shaves as well. However, if you want to skip all of that, you can go straight into Landslide or just refresh Landslide and get the full duration beast teachings. You don't have to worry about trying to buffs. It makes it so much easier to just play Gao, because all you have to do is just refresh Landslide. It is
HP plus till your heart's content.
And then you can just HP plus to your heart's content. Yeah. It's a lot easier to manage Gao. Other than that, he is pretty much just the same way he was before. He, as I said, the most notable thing is that he is definitely hitting a little harder than he was before. It's pretty noticeable. Using him, I've been enjoying him quite a bit. Messing with him since his LD got got the adjustments. It's been nice.
Infamous Element is saying, if you're going to be in a summon or in a phase where you have lots of turns, you can spam his skill 2 to do more damage. Oh, yeah. Just in my experience, that's generally when I bring a friend in for Gao.
That's an option.
But you can
also would be spamming skill 2 in those instances where you're going to have a couple turns where you can do it.
Skill 2 is doing the damage. Skill 1 can do the healings. But for the majority of the fight, you can pretty much ignore the skills and not have to worry about refreshing that. And it is really nice if if you're bringing either Hope or another turn buff extender, or even Hope's LD call or regular call, which extends buffs. Then you're not going to run out of those buffs, and it's going to prolong those buffs even longer, which is nice. So, yeah. I enjoy Gao. I've always enjoyed him. I'm glad I picked him up when his LD, because I hadn't had him before. I'm glad I picked him up when his LD came along. I thought he was really fun back then. Used him in several Lufanias. I used him in this Lufania. I think he's just overall really kind of fun. It is kind of funny that, again, he's a character where you don't really have to touch his skills, kind of like Yuna. But whatever, he does what he does, and he does it pretty well. So
yeah.
Arrow, any thoughts on Gao Gao?
I like in his LD boards he got increases to the regular counters. So if you are having to have to switch into a stance for one reason or another, maybe to go into a refresh EX or something, then it's just nice. Would I say you should pull for him? I mean, that's debatable. I think
no. The answer is no. Yeah. You shouldn't pull on. Generally speaking, you shouldn't pull on older characters who are getting their LD boards, unless they're Squall.
Or you already had obviously board your Gao if you got the character points, and you already had him from before. But I can't hugely say yes. But he is very. He's become a lot more newbie player friendly. I feel like with the LD board changes. So that is a plus. So if you're a new player and Gao just sounds like something that you could have a lot of fun with, hey, I understand completely. Pull for your face, pull for certain characters just because you think they sound fun and you got the resources.
Yeah, I mean, if you're obviously it's hard knowing. I mean, we know who's coming out, so in terms of healers and stuff, Paladin Cecil's going to cover just a lot of those roles for newer players. But if Final Fantasy VI is a favorite, he is a good kind of role coverage, enchanter, healer, damage dealer, counter character. I mean, he does provide a lot of roles early on. He's going to help in a lot of content. So if he's a favorite, sure, pull for him. If not, you either have him or you don't.
There is one other reason to actually consider pulling for him if you missed him the first time. Boss Rush. He is one of those counter characters. And he is back.
Yeah, he's great. He's great at Boss Rush.
Amazing in Boss Rush. Yes, he will pull his weight there. So maybe if you're kind of starting to get into Lufania and you wanting to go into Boss Rushes in the future, this isn't a bad time to pick him up. He's still going to be useful for, I think, 1 or 2 more boss rushes.
And his LD boards do improve his damage output considerably. So, I mean, it's a considerable. You notice it. I mean, let me just say it that way. It is noticeable. Well, going to the podcast polls for the Gao part of that banner. Only one person willing to pity the BT Onion Knights on that one. 6 people going after Gao's LD. So there's some people, some love for there. 2 willing to use gems, 28 tickets, and 223 skipping. Much more what I would have thought. So, but yeah, he's a fun character. If you had him, certainly you should use him. but so it goes. There is a co-op for this event, and we did already talk about the refined spheres. There are several interesting refined spheres. Pick up a few of them. Probably want to focus on Zaz. It's nice to have those for your D-sphere characters to throw those on there. Just helps the party in general. So, and that's one that most characters can use, I think, fairly easily. But there was some talk about why is Paladin Cecil Sphere so good. It's a weird interaction with the realized high armor that just makes your brave gains even better. So and with brave gain reduction, it's just going to work out real nice. So it is a significant thing that you should just, if you're a veteran that's going to be playing for a while, you should just stockpile a few of them and have them for later on in the game. That brings us to the Lupania for this story chapter, which allowed us to fight 2 Medusas. And they kind of look like beholders, but they're Medusas. They're multi-eyed, scary, and they got the scary gaze, and they do lots of different stuff. So let's walk through that fight. Again, you can go to DissidiaFFOO.com and check out Macnol's boss guide. But it is a one-wave Lupania fight where you fight 2 Medusas. And this has been we knew in the Japanese version of the game this was tough. This was a tough, they do not look like anything from Wizards of the Coast. I'm sorry, CSDX. They look like red monsters. No, they're snakes, so they do look like Medusas, just the heads though. Floating Medusa heads, which doesn't seem like a thing that ever happened. Medusas usually have bodies.
What
anyway.
are you talking about? There's Castlevania.
Oh, yeah, the Medusa heads.
Yeah.
They are floating Medusa heads. You're right.
Yep.
You're right. I'm wrong. So hopefully Nintendo doesn't have that copyrighted, or whoever makes the Castlevania games. I'm behind on the anime, or whatever you want to call that, the cartoon. Yeah, but these are nasty. They're nasty, and they're terrible, and they have a lot of different crap. Now, their Lupania Orb it doesn't pop up until much later in the game. So it comes when they are at 49%, and it never disappears. And it goes up to +5 when they take ice damage. So people who are trying to rush through the thing will find themselves, if they're not enchanted with ice or doing ice damage, will find themselves dead. That's because you can't let the orb hit 0, just like always. So that's one issue. So you need some type of ice damage. Obviously, Onion Knight is the character that's featured in this event. If you have Onion Knight on your team, it's not going to be a problem. If you bring an Onion Knight friend and Shiva as a summon, good options. Onion Knight Call, good option. There are some other interesting options with there as well. But obviously, Onion Knight, friend Onion Knight. Cater's Call actually is useful for this as well, with some ice damage there. But that's kind of that's one of your options. The other there's multiple things. And Arrow can walk through some of these things too. Is their all ability, their recast ability, when the all attack is glowing, or when their recast bar is glowing and it's an all attack, that's their gaze attack. And if they break you with the gaze attack, you are petrified, and that's pretty much game over. You're not unpetrifying. So how they do that though is if they break you, and when they break you, they get rid of all your buffs, even frame buffs, and you don't have any buffs, then you're petrified. If after they cleanse you of all your buffs and you still have a buff, you're not petrified. And why I say that is there is a gimmick you can use to get over that, which avoids the petrification, by bringing Leviathan Summon. If you bring the Leviathan Summon, it will actually apply Leviathan, right? It will actually apply the blessing, which is a buff, to you before you're turned to stone. So you'll still lose all your frame buffs, but you won't be turned to stone. So you can actually take the damage and get through that. So that's one way, and that was Silver Acid Wave figured that out. So shout out to them as well. So that's an interesting mechanic and another option for how you might be able to get around the gaze, because it is nasty. The easiest way to get rid of the gaze is just not get broken. So build up your brave, but you need to build up considerable brave. 10,000 is not going to be enough, especially if they're going back to back. You're talking like 30,000 brave. You're going to want a lot of brave. The second gimmick is the Flamethrower. So if they are not doing a recast, but it is an all attack, that is their Flamethrower. If it's the ++ version, it gives them a red aura, which makes them immune to debuffs and all types of delay. That's a pain in the butt, but it's just an AoE HP attack, and they do it a lot, and so you're taking HP damage, which means you need a healer. They also debuff cleanse, and that happens at 79% of their health and 49% of the health, so make sure that you're willing to do that. They also, because there's a lot of different things, they also give themselves terrible shields, 150,000k brave shields at 69% of their health and 29% of their health. And you need to get through those shields or they're going to hurt you. They also just do terrible damage reduction. They have a huge defense value. Not terrible HP, but they have a huge defense value and brave gain reduction from your skills, depending on what thing they're in. So, yeah. So is that all the different? Yeah, I think that's all the different things. Yeah. So they cleanse the debuffs. They give themselves shields. They can petrify you, which is game over. They can just do constant AoE HP damage, which is game over. If you don't do ice damage, they'll orb you, and then it's game over. And they do tons of just damage reduction. It's a lot. And if you're really struggling, you should go and read through it again because there's a lot of different things to mitigate. But that being said, there's actually a lot of different options to deal with this fight. So it's not like some of the Hell Month Lufanias, although this is a tough Lufania. A lot of people are struggling. Thankfully, it is permanent content, so you can always give it a few weeks. You know, we're going to get Paladin Cecil. Arciella you could use here. Emperor you could use here. Celeste you could use here. I mean, there's lots of characters coming up who you could use to beat this content. You're just going to miss out on a few tickets. It will be okay. But if you want to try to beat it now, there are lots of different options. So, Arrow, you want to talk about the fight a little bit more and talk about what you did?
Oh, yeah. Did you mention the two different auras, about the yellow aura and the purple aura?
I did not. So please, talk about the different auras.
Let me talk about that. So they open up with a yellow aura. In this form, they are weaker to magic and they have higher defense. When they are in their purple mode, they are melee range vulnerable, but they have higher speed. So the defense thing is very much noticed, even if you bring like enchantment. I was hearing some people saying you don't notice it, but you do with the higher defense part. At least I felt like I did, even with enchantment on. And I brought Jack. So, yeah. Did we go explicitly over the locks as well, Mark? And how they work? The turn locks, like all the different things.
Yeah. No. We didn't talk about the turn locks. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that they do lock their turns, but we didn't go into detail what that means.
Yeah, and you actually see it in the menu during the fight. There's like a little frame, a little silver frame around their turn, so you know they cannot be delayed or kicked back. So,
and even if you break them, they don't get pushed back a turn. But I will point out, you can still move ahead in the turn order. Like, you can still keep moving in front of them.
Yep.
So, like, if you swap turns with Onion Knight's LD or Rem or something, that's fine. Ultimisia can still get, she can use her EX and still get those multiple turns. Jack can keep getting turns as long as, he keeps the target broken or attacks a broken target. His turn will still go right back in front of them. So, of course, if you just use a generally high turn rate skill and you just happen to pop up in front of their turn, that's okay too. We didn't talk about this fight being the first of many to come in the future with Brave Gain Reduction. So what that means, guys, Brave Gain Reduction means that when you will have decreased Brave party regen effects, like Penelo's regions that give your party Brave Battery. If you use something like Jack's EX, when he gains all that Brave before he unleashes the attack, that amount will be lessened. Now, they're going to start giving us ways to increase Brave recovery effects to kind of overcome some of those issues, but just be aware you can't rely on battery the same way as before. It's not a big deal, but it's just something to keep in mind. Oh yeah, and before they do a recast, they get even more Brave reduction than usual. It's like minus 80% Brave gain reduction. So you really aren't going to see those numbers, those battery numbers look very good. I think those are the main things that were forgotten. But otherwise, yeah. Oh, they're immune to imperils. So just be aware that you can hit them with other elemental attacks they don't already absorb. Just be aware they can't be made weak to them. But they're already naturally weak to ice and earth. That's why Gao and Onion are so useful here. Okay, I think I went over all the notes of stuff that was missed. Is there anything else we needed to add?
Yeah, and that's a lot. And I don't even know how much that's going to help any particular person running through the fight. But it does help a little bit to understand everything that's going on as you kind of play your way into it and understand some team comps that can work. Obviously, I kind of used, I think, the safest of the team comps, which was Onion Knight, Gao, and Hope. I brought an Onion Knight friend, I believe, although I did not utilize them particularly well. And I'm pretty sure I brought Shiva as my summon as well. So I think that's probably the safest way you can go. Now, you can try to burn through it with Ultimisha if you have her burst. That is an option. There are some runs on there. Arrow, who did you use?
I used Onion Knight, Jack, and Penelo. It was pretty smooth. Once I understood the boss rotation, the team was no problem. I just had to make sure that I didn't get hit with back-to-back recasts because I couldn't live that. But I could do it fine if only one of them did it, and then I got a turn in between.
Guy was also, I mean, because of the help that enchanters give on this. Camelinot, especially here in a little bit, his Addle debuff destroys their damage. So that's from Infamous Element. Vincent has also seen a lot of use here because Vincent's debuffs, now his Imperil debuffs will not work, which actually I think works in his favor because you cannot put on his fire resist down and his lightning resist down generic buffs, his attack and in Brave debuffs will always be on, and you can keep them on pretty consistently when you want them on. So his attack really does help. His frame debuff is a defense down in sap, which again really helps. So there was a lot of people that did get use out of Vincent. He's doing decent damage because he can enchant himself. So that's pretty good. I think Arciella is going to be fine here. X-Death is also really good because he can really help breaking with the shields. Ramza can also help in that direction. So people used Ramza. I think if we go to, I'm not sure if I have the call to arms open for this. For the video list, just to kind of give you a sense of the most used characters. Again, that's DissidiaFFOO.com. Onion Knight, Ultimisha, Hope, Vincent, Gao, Ramza, Kefka. Yeah, Kefka with his HP silence can shut down the fight. Belthier, Lightning, Gladiolus, Penelo, X-Death, Edward, Jack, and Guy, and Beatrix. And then Furion Realm, Camelot, kind of in the end. And some crazy person used Alisei. That's interesting. In a regular run, huh? Now, we do have a TCC challenge for this. Oh, really? We do? What? And for the TCC, like, really? What? You want to make this less fun? Okay. We banned Onion Knight and Gao. Their calls are also banned, but you can use them as friends. And no burst phase. So that's the regular TCC challenge. No Onion Knight, no Gao, no Onion Knight Gao calls. You can have them as friends. No burst phase. The extreme is that those same conditions, but no Onion Knight friend. And before you say, Mark, you're crazy, we already have 4 people who have beaten the TCC challenge. That would be Nin, MP8, Leviax, and Excalibur has 2. And then Excalibur also has an extreme run. So just to shout out Excalibur, Gladiolus, Furion, Vincent were able to do it, obviously. And then we have Vincent Hope, Gladiolus, Vincent Beatrix Hope, Kefka Ultimisha Hope, Vincent Edward Lightning. Edward's a good option as well, too. So there are lots of different options. Those options are much more difficult, and I definitely wouldn't suggest them unless you are a very talented player. And so there are lots of different options. Again, try to take the fight one step at a time. Try to understand the different phases. For me, it did take me a few times to beat this fight. For me, it was just getting a sense of, making sure I had enough brave to eat the first gaze, because the way Hope interacts, it's really easy to burn through his. He jumps around in order quite a lot when you use his skills, which you probably need to battery up your party. So I screwed that up several times before I was able to get it. But everything else, make sure that you're just taking your time. I think that's the biggest, the best advice I can give you with this is be patient. I think a lot of people struggle with these fights because they just want to burn through them. And they need to stop at every kind of space, 79%, 59%, 49%, 29%. The natural breakdowns would be 79%, 69%, 49%, 29%. And just kind of reassess, where are you? Do I need to use my calls? Make sure you're using your calls effectively. What do I need to do? How many turns do I have? Am I using my summon too early? Am I using my burst phase too early? Am I using my friend unit too early? Or I've seen a lot of people on Twitch just biff because of, burning through the orbs without having their party enchanted, or doing ice damage. And those are mistakes that you can fix by just being patient and taking your time. So I think that's really the biggest thing. I don't think this is the hardest fight we've had. I think it is very challenging because it has multiple parts. But I think that the easiest way to get over that, obviously by having the right characters, but I think you have a pretty good width and breadth of characters. I think really patience is the key in this particular challenge. So, Arrow, any other thoughts about this terrible, terrible Lupania?
I just want to say, yes, this fight is pretty difficult, but it is permanent. So just like Kieran's Lufenia, this will be bad. This is here. You don't have to, if you don't want to pull for Onionite, you don't have to. You can't beat it with that onion friend even. You don't have to today. I mean, there will be more ice in the next big ice character is Celis. And maybe you're a bigger FF6 fan than you are an FF3 fan. And I don't blame you. You can come back and have a much easier time with this fight. If you decide to pick her up. Or you can just power creep it, of course, because eventually that's going to be a thing. And the other thing I wanted to say, there was something else, and now I can't even think of it. Oh, my gosh.
Moomeister is saying playing a turn-based game by thinking between the turns is cheating, and that is known. It is the best approach to streaming Defo is to not think, and then you have to replay the event for like 40 hours a week. And that gives you all the streaming hours you need to play one game that doesn't have abundance of content by basically just losing one fight over and over and over and over and over again until you go crazy. But people keep watching, so like me. I sit in and listen to people while I'm doing other things, just lose and lose and lose and lose and lose. So that is one way to keep your stream count up. So there you go. Always look on the bright side of life, folks. Always look on the bright side.
Oh, I remember what that other thing was. I honestly, personally thought Reno's Lufenia was more toxic. Personally speaking, that fight came literally out of nowhere to me. And the fact that it was either run Lightning and never let them play, or run Reno and still have a lot of ways to still die because of that. What is it? There was that turn delay move they would do, and it would knock you back like 3 turns all the time, and it just usually meant somebody was dying. I don't know. That fight to me had way more problems than this fight did. I'm not saying this fight's not easy or anything. I'm just saying I think this fight is a little less problematic by comparison. And we have seen that proven with the amount of team variety. In comparison, I bet if I was to go back over and look at the Reno Lupania, the variety would not be as high. That's all I'm going to say. Possibly a hot take, possibly not. If you disagree with me,
I think that's easy to prove. We can go back and look at the Call to Arms. It is most definitely not.
Do that right now, or do you want to wait post show?
No, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can go look at it while we talk about HaateXIII, but I'm pretty sure you're right. We did just launch. We did just launch HaateXIII's Lost Chapter as we are streaming here on Thursday night in the United States. HaateXIII got her level 80 and an LD. I have not gotten her LD, but feel free if anybody else wants to gift subs or 5 tickets, and I'll go back in. But Chris, can you let us know what HaateXIII gets? And we do need to clarify something about her call, so don't let me forget to do that.
Sure. I'll leave that to you to clarify something about her calls, because I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Yeah, no, I'll do that.
But I will talk about what HaateXIII gets, because it's very simple. She doesn't get much. All she gets is her LD and her LD call ability. So her LD ability is Unceasing Dread. She gets 4 uses of it. It is an AoE Brave plus HP attack. It does full HP damage to all targets. It deals weakness damage to debuff targets, and it applies a new debuff called Capacity Break. It is a frame debuff that increases HP damage that targets take from HaateXIII while the debuff is active, and it also prevents the targets from being able to gain. It prevents Brave gains while the targets have this debuff on them. The other thing that Unceasing Dread does is that it allows HaateXIII to get back skill 2 uses, similar to how Ultimecia's LD gives her back skill 2 uses as well. And that's it. It's a very simple LD. It's straightforward in its simplicity. It's just a strong AoE Brave plus HP attack, applies a new debuff that has some nice bonuses for HaateXIII specifically, and it recharges her skill 2.
That's what she got. And that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all she needed. Again, you extend that HP attack disable from 10 turns to almost 20 turns with her LD refreshes. Obviously, I guess it is 20 turns because her AA gives her another ability use, right? That's what her A uses. And so, I mean, it is 20 turns. And so that's 20 turns of HP attack disable. That's 16 turns of Brave gain, shutout, or whatever they call, prevents Brave gain. Max Brave speed down. And currently, we haven't tested it yet because the character was live, but when she got her LD in Japan, the buffs were not working, similarly to how Hope is giving like 120% attack aura and really shouldn't be. And so it should be like 80%. And so HaateXIII is giving, again, kind of overtuned auras right now to attack and max brave. I think it should be. We'll see what it is unless there were corrections made in global. It would be 110% to attack and 130% to max brave. So her auras are significant. Again, that's assuming they did not fix it so it reads correctly, or fix it to make it what it reads. That's the problem. It reads one way, but it acts another way. Same as Hope. And you can see that on the Tonberry Troupe. It's not, I don't even know if it's a bug or if it's just the wording is incorrect and the auras are actually correct. I would probably err on the fact that the auras are probably correct, but the wording is just confusing or not correct. But who knows? It's something that, to my knowledge, has not been ever changed in Japan, Nunar. So... that being said, we did look before the show, and there are several of the upcoming, including the very next Lufania, the Theodore Lufania, that will shut out HP attack disable. So they don't shut out her frame buffs, of course, unless it's all debuffs are shut out, which I don't think we're getting all debuffs shut out again. But there are several fights coming up here in the next month or two that are HP attack disable immune. So that will hamper when 20 of her turns are HP attack disable. That's a big part of her kit. So that does hamper her considerably. The other thing that there's been some confusion on is her LD call puts capacity break, her new frame debuff or LD debuff, on the enemy. And some people are assuming that not only does it prevent brave gain, which is the really what it does, but that it gives HP damage up to whoever used the LD call or to the entire party. That is not how it works. The HP damage up on capacity break is only to Arciella. So if you call her in, it is giving it to her on the attack and no one else throughout the entire fight. It is only for Arciella. So whoever calls Arciella in does not get 20% HP damage up. The party does not get HP 20% damage up. The debuff is specifically for Arciella. It is only her damage which is amplified. That is the way to make her usable in Lupania, is by amplifying her damage. So it's only for her. It's not for the party. It doesn't work as her call. So basically, if you're bringing her as a call, you're bringing her for the preventing the brave gain. That's why you're bringing her. You're not bringing her to do anything else. So, and you don't get any other effects with her LD or her regular call. So just to clarify, because some people are like, wow, Arciella's LD call is as awesome as Jack's LD call and everybody should pull for it. No, it's not. Not at all. It's not bad. It's a good LD call. And that is a nice, in certain fights, to prevent bosses from gaining Braves, a big deal. Mm-hmm. The green numbers, as we've been talking about, it will up her other call damage. Yeah, probably. What is her call? What's her base call?
Her S2, I believe.
If it's her S2, that's brave hits. So it will probably work if the debuff is on. If you do LD and then CE, most likely, yeah, it will work. Yeah. Yeah, it is the HP silence, which is nice. So yeah. So her base call is actually pretty nice. A base HP silence for 2 turns. That's nothing to shake your nose at, up your nose at. Whatever. What am I talking about? Well, we're not going to go through the Lufania because we haven't had a chance
to try it.
We haven't done it, and we need something to talk about next week. And none of us had a chance to use her. And unless people gift more subs, I'm not going to pull on her anymore. So I won't have a chance to use her LD. A lot of people are talking about skipping because Belthier does the cleanses and the dispels. And so, of course, Theodore was a big LD cleanser, and she's a big LD dispeller. And a lot of other people do the other things. Kefka still does the HP silence if you're really big on that. Reno, Edward have shutout powers. Vincent's debuffs are pretty nice. There's all kinds of stuff like that. Hope's given awesome auras, a lot of aura bots going on. So yeah, I think a lot of people are skipping, and we can check to see what the podcast polls are while we're looking at it. Well, currently over 11 servers, no one willing to pity Onion Knight's burst on this. 11 people, some FF11 fans, pitying the LD. Let me just update this, double check it. 7 using gems, 78 tickets, and 70 skipping. So a whole bunch of people actually using it. But again, not as many as in previous banners, and certainly not as many as upcoming banners, as many people are trying to recover or save some resources. So, Crease and Arrow, are you planning to pull on Arciella?
I pulled. I got it. So I will have more comment on it next week because I haven't had obviously a chance to play with it yet.
Cool.
I don't have an HP silencer, guys. That was my main reason. I know there's going to be fights coming that it doesn't matter, but maybe there'll be a couple fights where it will, and I don't have one. So yeah. I'm trying to build up some utilities that I am lacking, because that's typically where I'm hurting. It's not so much supports or damage dealers. It's just weird utilities. So that was my reasoning. I need weird utility. RCL has got it in spades.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
She sure does. And yeah, if you don't, I mean, I have Kefka with his LD and burst, so I'm less concerned about HP silence or HP disable, as I already have that. But Crease, and you pulled on this, or are you pulling on this? Crease, are you with us? Is Crease with us? Maybe Crease isn't with us. Let me make sure. Oh, nope. Crease literally just messaged me and said, I'll be right back. So, well, let's go on. Thank you, Crease. Let me pay attention to my pings before I go on to things. Well, let's look, Arrow, if we will, on the podcast questions, since we have a few minutes here tonight. So, haven't we done this? Well, let's just Neil asks, of all the Final Fantasy worlds, which one would you want to visit for a vacation? Or which one would you like to live on, Arrow?
Ooh, I think there was a time we did this question a while back.
Yeah, we can answer it again.
So we'll do it again. FF9, because once everything's back to normal, I'm gonna assume we're talking post game for all these worlds.
Yeah, post COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, that. God, hold on, I need a moment. But yes, because there's a lot of really interesting locales, lots of different races of animals and people, and just lots of culture. I think it would be very, very fun to go visit such a place.
I love the Final Fantasy XII world quite a bit, actually. I think it's a very interesting, diverse world. I love the steampunk aesthetic, and so that would be my choice. Thank you, Donil. Appreciate that. And when Crease comes back, we'll let Crease join in. J Raider 123. What would the host think if a future quality of life update they added what element a skill had by either adding the icon to the skill or making the border colored? So, I think that is thank you, Crease is back with us. I think that is a excellent idea, J Raider. I think you should put that in the suggestions on main chord. So you would know what skills and abilities are enchanted with different elements and which ones aren't. I think that would be very helpful. Arrow, what do you think?
Interesting. It just depends on how they would implement it. I would want it to, fit in with the rest of the user interface. So that would be the most important thing to me. But yeah, otherwise it would, if you didn't have to necessarily hold down the button to see what element a skill had.
Yeah.
And they had a quicker way to see, I would be all for it.
Cool. Well, Jake asks, what are each of the hosts' favorite in-battle mechanics? For example, Arrow always talks about Bravery Fund, which I like as well. Others, turn delay, deletion, enchant, imperil, launch. Crease, what is your favorite or least favorite in-game mechanic?
My least favorite has always been launch teams.
Yeah.
I have never liked them. I skipped Lael when he first got his awakening back in the 60 era. I think I avoided his 35 when he first got it. I avoided launch teams as long as possible, and I avoided using them as much as possible. I have used them a little bit here and there, but I have not built teams around the concept of just launching as much as possible to buff up score and just do as much damage within launch windows. I skipped Kais for the same reason. On the other end of the spectrum, my favorite battle mechanic tends to be enchant and perils types of builds. I like doing the enchanting teams a lot. I have a lot of fun with those. The idea of building around a single element is a lot of fun for me.
Arrow, any thoughts on that? Favorite or least favorite in-game mechanics?
Well, obviously everybody already knows my favorite one, so I don't think I need to go into that. But my least favorite is turn deletion. So Amatadelian, not for me, guys. I'm sorry. I don't believe in completely removing the boss from having an action. I don't have a problem, oddly enough, with like some turn delay and paralysis and HP silence and stuff. But I don't like outright removal of turns. That's a step too far for me.
Yeah, my favorite in-game mechanic is burst mode, and my least favorite in-game mechanic is lightning. So take that as you will. Theologica says, do you think, no, not the character, not the element. Do you think there should be a revamp to the Call to Arms budget team section? That's a real quick answer, Theologica. We haven't been doing that because, why would you not bring characters fully limit broke? I don't know if we have something in the future planned for that. We haven't talked about it. But I think at this point, ingots are pretty in high supply. I don't know if we're going to keep track in terms of the high armor realizations. There's a lot more customization moving forward, especially with spheres and all that kind of stuff. So, and high armor realizations as well. So, I'm not sure how we would keep track of that without driving all of us insane. So just invest in your characters fully. And just as a side note on that, talking to some people on Discord or seeing people on Facebook and stuff, if you try to copy a team and you have the same characters and they're all max limit broke and all your boards are mastered or not, and you notice, like, I'm using the same characters, the same team, the same setup, but my characters aren't doing enough damage, the same damage, they're not doing the same kind of output, and you don't have your boards mastered. Well, first of all, that's why you don't have your boards mastered. So always master your boards. But the other things are, is this person have their high armor? Does this person have spheres equipped? And what are those spheres doing? Does this person have perfect artifacts? What are the artifacts they're using? Thankfully, with that splash screen, the team screen used, that wonderful quality of life we have, you can see all those. You can see the spheres. You can see the artifacts. You can see everything that has everything the person used. And so really look and see, okay, well, I haven't mastered any of my boards, so my character's not doing any damage. I can't even imagine bringing a character without fully mastered boards to a Lupania fight, but some people do. I don't see a reason to handicap yourself when it comes to these kind of Lupania fights. This is endgame content. Invest in your characters, use fully built characters. Challenge fights are a little different, obviously. They're not as tough, but that's my 2-2. Oh, Inkwelder from the Tonberry Troupe, TonberryTroupe.com, says, who from more than 2 months ago has been a complete surprise to you that you find you're using more than you ever expected? For me, for Inkwelder, it's Warrior of Light. He's a staple now, whereas initially he was benched over in favor of Bosch or Gladio. I agree with Inkwelder. I use Warrior of Light consistently. He is really cool. Arrow, any thoughts on that?
Dude, I got 2. Kimari and 9. Wow, I thought I was only going to use them for a little bit, but I keep finding reasons to use them, and they're so good. Like, man, I can't wait for 9's Lost Chapter. I'm so hyped for those LD boards, and he gets it loaded, man. So, very good characters. Don't regret pitting Kimari at all. And there are times where we do regret pitties, but that was definitely not one for me.
Yeah, Avalon says Gao. Assay 1999 says 9. Mino saying Guy. I've used him in every Lufania so far. So, Kreese, any thoughts?
I don't know off the top of my head. I was thinking about this before you asked the question, and I couldn't think of any characters immediately.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about this for a while. I will mention I've been going back to Desh more and more recently, and I'm not sure why.
Solid.
I used him for the boss rush, for example. I broke him out again. He seemed, for some reason, I just thought he would be a good idea, and he ended up working decently well. And I used him for a recent Lufania, and I don't remember which one, but 1 or 2 Lufanias ago I broke out Desh 2.
You all just named all the LDs I don't have, so congratulations. Bartigan saying Reno, Daniil saying it's Gladio. I don't have Desh. I don't have 9. I don't have. I do have Kamari. I don't have him fully limit broke. If you could change, this is B Dog G345. If you could change one character's kit to be more like they are in their main game, who would it be? Oh, good question. Good question. Since I always junction Shiva on Squall, I would make Squall summon Shiva more. That's a funny thing. Arrow, any thoughts on that? I know you've played a lot of these older Final Fantasies too. Any thoughts on characters that maybe are not like their in-game persona?
Having a hard time thinking of how
Yeah, Nebo Young is saying Yuna needs her guns. Yeah, come on, give us Gunner Yuna.
Yeah, definitely.
Tonberry costume.
Wow, I honestly have no idea, guys. I'm sorry.
Good question.
Why shouldn't that be a magic user? Nobody ever, if you played him as a magic user in FF2, he was just a white mage, like, buffer. I don't know anyone who ever, because he starts off leaning with stats in physical more than magic. But yeah, that's nerding out a little bit. Sorry, guys.
Rico should be in the game, just like she is in Final Fantasy 10. Oh, Bunks, that's good. That's classy. Kreese, any thoughts on characters that might be a little peculiar in their default iteration that maybe could be reworked? I don't know.
The top one that comes to mind is Yuna.
Yeah. Either way,
she immediately comes to mind.
You know, obviously when her initial character was nothing like what she should have been, but she does actually summon, which is nice now. But yeah, certainly not the Gunner version. Actual blue magic. I was thinking about Kista's actual blue magic. Yeah, would be nice. Just in the game in general would be nice. Be Lucky. I think we can answer a couple more. Be Lucky with BT Plus. That's the current reality in JP. And assuming modifications to EX, the investment for a brand new character will be even bigger. 15, 35, EX, stones, books, ingots, LD, BT, mats for BT Plus, and mats for whatever super EXs are called. Won't this encourage skipping and staying with our waifus and husbandos? It might also discourage new players from joining the game. What do you think, Arrow?
Yeah, I mean, bloat is a really real thing. You know, it's a real thing in these games. But as long as they keep finding ways to help encourage new players into the game, I think it'll be fine. I guess if you're a paying person, at least in JP, they started offering chances to get some of the older LDs by literally paying for them. Like, they'll give you an LD to a character. Generally, these are older characters, but newer players just need to start building a roster. They got a lot of content to go through. And some of these characters they offer are very, very helpful in that process.
You know, that's the reality that currently in the Japanese version of the game, they get one new character a month. One new character. So yes, for that new character, you need a 15 and a 35 and an EX, and you need to fully realize that EX. Of course, at that point, realizing EXs is not an issue. You need an LD. If you want the BT, you need the BT and then a BT plus. And there's realization materials for the BT plus, which are a little bit more rare. And then there's the higher armor and the realization for the higher armor. So yes, it's a big investment for a new character. That being said, it's only one new character a month. And quite frankly, the new characters are usually not that overwhelming. It's maybe 50-50, whether they're like, oh, wow. I mean, Sid Reigns is kind of exciting. But, you know, they're pretty much, well, just look at the new characters we're going to be getting here in the immediate future. There's not a lot that are going to be super exciting. They're mostly going to be skippable. And the old characters are going to continue to get refreshed. And so, I mean, the way that they manage that in default, a lot of games just continuously release new characters, and so you just don't use old characters. Like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, you just keep getting new characters every couple weeks, several new characters. Every week, basically, it's a couple new characters. And the power creep is just substantially going, and so you don't use old characters anymore. And they're hard to build up. You need to pull multiple versions of them, all that kind of stuff. So this game is, oh, you got Gao? Well, hey, we're going to make Gao better. Okay. Well, what do I need? Well, 5,000 character board points. Well, all right. You have Y'shtola's BT. You pulled her. Oh, here, you can use her BT plus, and now she's really cool. Oh, okay. Well, you're, as a new player, you're always going to need to be more invested. But again, from my experience with new players throughout the entirety of this game's history, they've always been able to catch up pretty quick because of the amount of resources that they're given, and new characters are good and really good at old content. So there's never been new characters that are garbage at old content. So, yeah, Mino's saying it's more like one new character every 1.5 months. So again, it's not like one every week it's a brand new character and you're, constantly going back to the credit card to fill up on gems and resources. If you watch people in JP who always don't have good pull plans, they seem to be fine. So I think we'll be fine as well. And if you're not, then stop playing. Thank you. That was a question to that. Sweet Anai asks, which Final Fantasy cast is strongest currently in Defo, would you say? Arrow, what's the strongest Defo cast right now?
You mean like a single character right
now?
Yeah,
no. Which series has the strongest cast at this moment in the game?
Come back to me on that. I'll think on that one for a moment.
Final Fantasy 1 overall. Overall. 13 because 13 has lightning. And Zaz and Snow are pretty good. Hope and 13 is a good 15 dominated for a long time. So 15 dominated for a long time.
Gladio,
they've kind of fallen off. Well, Aranea, Iggy is coming back, Prompto, Noctis, Arden, Gladiolus. Yeah, 15's really strong. It's a strong cast. But 4's going to get some time in the sun. Yeah, 13's still pretty strong. Final Fantasy 8's going to get jumped up here. But it's a little more even. I'm not sure that one cast is standout. It's usually one or two characters, but obviously Lightning's really strong right now, but she's going to taper off a little bit. And Hope is really strong for 13. But when Paladin Cecil comes, you're going to have Theodore, Paladin Cecil, and Dark Knight Cecil, all as viable options from 4. So, yeah.
I'm looking, and I'm trying to debate if I should say, surprisingly, maybe Crystal Chronicles or Type 0. Because, and I'm going to argue for this, Kais is about to get an LD, and he's going to be pretty good with that LD. People still sometimes find uses for Charlotta. Kieran is an amazing LD user, and he's only going to get better once he gets his LD boards many months from now. And Amatadelian, people still use her too. Yuri, he doesn't have an LD, but pretty strong chaos character. I think there's never been a Crystal Chronicles character who has ever disappointed in this game, where I can't say the same for any other series. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go with the Crystal Chronicles. Hey, what do you know? We're the podcast for that. So there you go. I'm going with that.
Parsnippins asks, which character, just quick answers, which character has the best Lost Chapter theme music? What Lost Chapter has the best music? Off the top of your head.
I can't answer that because I play on mute.
There you go. Good answer. I'm going to say Squall because I love Final Fantasy VIII. Arrow, Final Fantasy 2 probably has some.
Leon Chapter is pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. Yeah, because they did play the old school song finally when his Lost Chapter came back, and not that really crummy.
Oh, Noctis.
I was super happy.
A lot of people are saying Noctis. Yeah, Noctis is great.
Yeah,
Great
Noctis
Lost Chapter music. Yeah, very good.
That's
Squeegee asks, what is the first video game you have memories of playing? What is the first Final Fantasy game you have memories of playing? Well, I remember playing games on the Apple Color computer, but I mean, my most vivid memory of playing video games at home, I guess, are we going to say at home? I played games in arcades, is Super Mario Brothers on the Nintendo. And the first Final Fantasy game I played was Final Fantasy. So, Arrow on regular Nintendo. Yeah.
I remember my first games on the NES, the original NES. I played Dragon Warrior. I know it's now called Dragon Quest, guys.
Dragon Quest.
Back then it was Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior 1. I played this I can't even Anticipation, which is like this little game, kind of like Hangman a little bit, and it was on like a little board game set up, and you had these little pieces, and they move around the board. I played Super Mario. I remember a lot of NES games being played around the time, but my first Final Fantasy, it's either I'm not quite certain which one was first, but I remember Mystic Quest and Final Fantasy 3. At the time it was 3. Now it's number 6, obviously. So yes, Final Fantasy, Mystic Quest, and Final Fantasy 3. I don't know which one was first, but they were very, very close. I remember we rented a lot of obscure RPGs that are now like cult classics and stuff at a video warehouse when I was a kid. And I guess there must have been an RPG fan there or something, because I got to play all kinds of really cool games. And I was like 8 years old.
Chris, any early thoughts of video gaming and Final Fantasy gaming?
The first Final Fantasy game I played that I had memories of was Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
Mystic Quest. Yeah.
Yeah. The first legit Final Fantasy I played was Final Fantasy VII. So I played 7, then went back and played 6, then played 4, and then went forward with the series after that. So my strongest memories are with 7 and 6 and 8 for that reason, and 9. I don't. What was the question? What was the exact question again?
Yeah, well, that was your first Final Fantasy. What was your first like video game you can remember playing?
First video game ever.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. Isn't that everyone's first? Didn't that pop all of our video game cherries?
I mean the original Super Mario Brothers, the one on NES.
Yeah, no, me too. I was.
Do you guys remember the arcade version, like that, where you could actually play the little arcade mode too? I used to love playing that with my younger brothers.
I remember going to arcades before we owned systems in our houses. Back in my day. No, thank you. And always you can put your questions on the Discord, podcast questions. Happy to do that. Hey, this weekend is the 3rd anniversary of the TCC podcast. So this podcast started March 7th, 2018. Pierre and I, that was the very first episode of the Dissidia Final Fantasy version of the Crystal Chronicles podcast. We were podcasting Record Keeper before that, but we did take a break, and then we started off 3 years ago. Yes, this is a very old people podcast. Obviously, we all remember playing Super Mario. I remember playing it when it released. But yeah, we started this podcast 3 years ago on the 7th of March, and so happy anniversary to us. And we're going to be doing some giveaways this next month for people on YouTube and Discord and Twitch. Going to give away some Moogle passes, and so I think I have a whole bunch of those. But thank you all for supporting us, Chalaster, Mistleton, HaateXIII, Raw Life, who else tonight? Jeff Leopard, and Zarathi for all the subs and the gift subs. Thank you all. Even though I had to pull a dupe BT, I hope that was worth it. I may clip that and share that on YouTube as well. Get as much mileage as I can out of it. But thank you. This has been episode 142 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded on March 4th, 2021. Upcoming events are going to be Act 3, Chapter 1, Part 2 on March 10th, the Raid event, which will be Paladin Cecil on March 15th, Kaisa's LC on March 18th, Transcendence Tier 1 on March 22nd, and also the Squex Community Stream as well. So check out all of our friends, all the links below, tccpodcast.com, The Crystal Chronicles on Twitch, on YouTube, FFTCC Podcast on Twitter and Facebook. For Arrow, myself, Crease, best of luck to all of you. May you have a wonderful week, wonderful weekend. We will see you next time. Goodbye.